Good morning. This is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm attorney Vince Davis, and I'm joined by some very special guests today. We have Miss G, Georgette Truen. We have Cassandra. Miss Cassandra, how are you? Good morning.
Good. How are you?
And we have a special guest. I see Maya, Miss Maya Hernandez. Hello, Maya. How are you? But can you hear me, Maya?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good, good, good.
Mm-hmm.
What
I can.
What city and state are you in, Maya?
It's lacking. Maya?
LA County.
Oh, okay. I think you might have a slow Wi-Fi connection there.
You
All
think you
right.
can go somewhere else, Maya, like a location? Because you sounded good yesterday.
Okay. Was Maya gonna be sharing her story with us today?
That's the best bet, but for some reason now it's choppy.
Yeah, she's going to be sharing her story. Go ahead, Maya.
I believe that was like
Yeah, it's not working.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not. It's choppy for me too.
Okay, honey. Is there a place you can take it to? Another area in the house that works better?
Not that safe.
Alrighty.
No. Is there a number that I can call, or can I call that number
No.
That's the number to my
on my cell phone?
office. Unfortunately, we don't
Okay.
have a telephone number for you to call in. So we're just going to have to improvise.
Okay.
Since Maya is having bad connection there. Cassandra, how are you this morning?
I'm good.
I've missed you the past couple of days.
Well,
You've been okay?
yesterday I had to go and see my kids for a
You had to go
visitation.
what?
Had to see my kids for a visitation.
Oh, okay. It sounded like you said I have to go feed my kids.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I heard too.
I had to go see them for a visitation. Actually, I had to go pick them up.
Okay. And how did that go?
Probably seems to be
Pretty good. They're just so funny. I love them. They're older,
How-
so it's
How old are they?
13 and 14.
Yeah, they should have a great, I guess, should have some control over where they're placed.
Yeah, they are actually I have some stuff happening where they're going to be placed, and it's going really well. Like, they're going to be closer to me at least,
Well, that's good. That's good.
and in
You're
the same county.
You're in San Bernardino County?
Yes.
Now that's geographically, that's a huge county.
Yeah,
Where-
but they still place them in Riverside County.
There's a
Yeah.
code section, in California, and I think it's probably in most states because I think it's part of a federal regulation. Kids are supposed to be placed in the county in which the parent lives, unless there's, extenuating circumstances. And a lot of
Yeah,
people tell me, their kids are placed in other counties far away and got to drive 5 hours to see my kids. That's actually not the law.
There were some circumstances because of my oldest, mostly, that because she kept on running away, and so they couldn't find any more placements for her, so they had to place her way out of county.
Now, Georgette, so we can give some value to our viewers, are there any other type of legal questions you want to ask me about juvenile dependency or CPS cases or civil rights cases?
You're muted.
Sorry, it's early.
We're going to have to take you off the national show, put you in the local show.
Okay, that's fine. That's good. So, okay, so there's a case that in San Bernardino as well, and it's a grandmother that adopted her five grandkids, and they all had COVID, including the grandmother, in August. So the school notified the Department of Child Services, even though the grandmother showed them the results for the test that it was positive, and they all had symptoms, fever, cough, whatever, and even the doctor notified the school. So the school is saying that the kids are always tarry and they're not at school like steady. Department of Child Services got involved and told the grandmother they don't care if they have COVID or not, and they removed all five kids with COVID.
You know,
So, what's your intake on that? Can they do that? They did it, but can they do
but
that?
well, see, that's the wrong question.
Okay,
Can they do it? They just did it.
right, true. You're right. Should they
So
do it? No.
that's not even the right question.
Okay,
The
what's the
right
right?
question for grandma should be, how do I get them back?
Oh, she asked me that already.
That's the most important question.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I already told her that she can. However, her thing is, how can they do that? And I told her not to focus on the how can they, just focus on getting them back. And
You
her
know,
main focus was also to sue them. I said, don't focus on suing them right now. Focus on getting the children back first.
right.
Yeah.
Now, she probably has a great lawsuit.
She does.
It's not going to help her get the kids back.
Mm-mm.
I try to explain that to people all the time.
Mhm.
They think, oh, if we sue the social worker now, that'll force the social worker to give me the kids back.
Right.
And in most cases, that's the worst strategy of all,
Mhm.
for a lot of different reasons that, aren't the subject of your question. But let me tell you something. The grandmother should focus on, she and her attorney should focus on getting the kids back now, period. Nothing else should matter. If that's all the allegations that are against her, and the evidence is true, what you told me, I don't see how she cannot get them back. But there's always something that we learn about cases that some people don't mention. I don't know if that's the case here, but if that's all they have against her, they're going to have a hard time trying to keep those kids away from coming back to their mother, their adoptive mother, who
Yeah.
happens to be their grandmother.
Right. So I asked her that. I said, "Is there anything that you forgot to tell me, or you can't remember? It might be in the back of your head." She said, "No, I'm a good grandmother. I have no record." She used to be a teacher at school. She has a great record. She's never been in trouble, never done drugs, doesn't even drink. She said because she's diabetic. And then it's kind of like it just went down the hill after that, just because of COVID. The kids didn't go to school. They assumed automatically that she's neglecting the children when there's proof that she has COVID. They all have COVID. That's why
But
she doesn't understand.
let me play the devil's advocate though for a second. And I've never talked to this person.
Mhm.
Um, when people were when COVID was around, um, and prevalent in our everyday actions, kids were going to school online,
I know.
you know, but 5 kids, you're going to need 5 computers. I don't know everybody that can afford that. But should the kids have been going to school online or something?
Yeah, that could
You're
have been a
saying,
possibility, but they
yeah,
didn't want the kids to go to school online.
who didn't want them?
The school, they threatened her at first when she said she wants to continue online education. And then they said that no, because the schools are open, and they demanded for the children to go to school.
Well, if they have a doctor's note that says they have COVID, I mean, the school is going to be hard pressed to win in a lawsuit.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And CPS is going to be hard pressed to win in the juvenile court,
Mhm.
keeping the kids away from the mother. The adoptive mother, the biological grandmother.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I was telling her too. It's a really a good case. There's a lot of stuff going on lately, Vincent, that complete violation. Like they're getting worse and worse and worse. There's a social worker that actually told um, the lady was on the phone with an attorney. By the way, I'm going to talk to you about that later on today. He wants to speak with you, that attorney, and he's a family law attorney. So he told her, "Don't ask him what the allegations. What is the allegation? Why are you here?" And he was on the phone. Speaker, social worker, person, woman, mother. The social worker said, "I don't have to give you a reason. We are the Department of Children Services. We don't need a reason. We have the power." And I can hear her going on and on and on because she recorded her. And I can hear the attorney saying, "Ma'am, why are you here? What are the allegations? I am attorney so and so. What are the allegations?" The social worker said, "I don't have to give you allegations. I mean, I don't have to tell you what it is. We have the right to be here. We are the department." And she kept repeating herself. And she said, "They have power over
Did the social
her."
worker have a warrant?
No, no
Oh.
warrant, nothing. She didn't even want to disclose that to the attorney or
So
the mother.
why did they even let the lady in the house?
They didn't let the lady in the house. That was the door. The screen door was
Hmm.
closed, and she was outside the door, and the door was open.
They should have closed the door then.
Well, I don't know what happened after that, but it was bad. It was really, really bad. But the social worker are so bold. Like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
but Georgette, stop.
yeah,
You hear these cases, you hear these horror stories every day.
yeah,
From California to New York, from Maine to Texas,
yeah.
from Washington to Louisiana. You hear it every day. Okay, so the question becomes, and this is, I tell people this all the time, and some people get upset.
Mhm.
What are you going to do about it? Let's quit talking and complaining
What can
about
we do
what
about
they
it?
do. They do what they do.
Mhm.
You're not going to stop them.
Yeah, but I just want you to explain to the people again, Vincent, because I get these calls a lot in your office. Just because they win, they have a civil lawsuit, that doesn't mean they're going to get their kids back.
That's true.
Okay, please explain that to them.
A civil lawsuit has nothing to do with whether you get your children back in the DCFS or CPS court. Here's what happens, and I noticed this over the last 30 some years of doing this. People think that if you're in a courtroom like the juvenile court, that all legal things regarding these children will take place in that DCFS court or that CPS courtroom. And that's false.
Mhm.
If you want to sue the social worker, you can't do it in the CPS courtroom. They don't have jurisdiction to do that. You have to go to a civil court, a state or a federal civil court, and bring some type of civil rights action.
Mhm.
I mean, one's night and the other is day. They don't even have anything to do with each other. Different laws, different rules of evidence, different procedural laws. There's totally different, right?
Mhm.
The craziest example that I can tell you, I mean, it's crazy only because, normal people who aren't lawyers find this almost impossible. O.J. Simpson was charged with the murder of two people. He was found not guilty. They walked across the street to a civil courthouse. Same case was presented. He won $40 million. I mean, the families won $40 million. Now, how could that be? Well, different courtrooms, different evidence, different procedure, different burdens of proof will lead to different outcomes out of the same transaction or event. That's the country we live in. I
Mhm.
know it gets complicated and it defies common sense, but that's the way it is. Please don't look at the law as if it's common sense. And maybe Grace or Georgette during this um, live stream can post my YouTube video on what is justice, because
Mhm.
it's not what you think it is, fortunately or unfortunately for you,
Thank
right?
you. Yeah, I
So
agree.
let's keep things separate and organized, and let's not try to use our common sense. I had a conversation just the other day with someone who kept telling me a story over and over again about how they had been screwed by CPS social workers, and I agreed, right? But I kept asking him, now that you've told me the story, what do you want to do? What do you want me to do? Well, what should I do? And I tell them, and then they say, inevitably, I don't agree with you, Mr. Davis. I think I should do this instead. And, sometimes I say, okay, I mean, you've asked me for my advice, and sometimes, I get the feeling people just call me and they want to talk about it just to talk about it. They've already decided what they're going to do because that's what they feel. And you know what? It's America. That's, that they can do whatever they want to do. Why call me? I called you because I thought you were an expert. I am, and I told you what you should do. Well, that doesn't match my beliefs. Okay, no problem.
See, that's what that part right there, what you just mentioned, is how people lose.
Right, but you know what? People, look, we all make bad decisions in our life regarding different things. And this is just an example of people making, probably an erroneous decision regarding their case. But here's the thing. It's America. They get to do what they want to do. They have freedom of choice. And that's good. But Georgette, has someone ever talked to me and then decided not to work with us and go do a case the way they want to do it? And then months later, they call you back and say, I lost, I'm losing my kid, and I should have done what you advised. Has that ever happened?
I have it in writing, actually.
Yeah.
And Cassandra even heard it several times. Am I right, Cassandra? Yeah.
Yes. I've heard her talk about stories on her show when I was on there, saying so many times.
So many people said that on my shows. A lot of people said we should have hired you guys.
But you know what? I'm not here to say I told you so, but if you call me and you want to talk to me about something and I tell you something, I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. I mean, I have a lot of experience, and, I'm sorry it doesn't match what you say or what you think, but I'm just telling you what I believe to be the best strategy or truth for you is. And if you don't want to agree, it's no problem. I got past that. When I've been doing this over 35 years, when I was a 5-year, even a 10-year lawyer, if you called me and you didn't get in, believe what I'm telling you, I would get in an argument with you, right? Trying to force you, taking that horse to the water and trying to force them to drink.
Right.
Can't do it. It only took me like 20 years to figure that out.
And I find myself like you right now, like when you were younger or what have you, as a new attorney, I find myself in that kind of situation because I try very hard to explain to them. It doesn't matter if you're Mother of the Year. It doesn't matter if you don't have a bad record against you. It doesn't matter if you don't do drugs. Every mother I speak with, oh, no, I have a good record. Everything's going to be fine. They're not going to touch me. Everything is cool. Then exactly 2 weeks later, oh my God, GT, they took my kids. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh, I have to sue them. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I can't. And then they're completely lost their mind. Completely. They went from being so calm, so confident to crazy. And I told her, I said, man, I told you this before. I literally finished telling you this 2 weeks ago. I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with our government. It has to be this. We have to make changes. And I'm like, okay, right now, forget about the government and you need to get your daughter back. That's what you need to focus on. So,
hey, Maya, hold on a second.
Yes.
Maya, are we able to, we got a good connection with you now?
I've had no issues so far.
Okay.
yay.
So let me ask you this. What state are you in?
California.
Okay. So are you involved in a CPS case, or you were involved in a CPS case?
It's a probate guardianship where CPS's involvement was the initial investigation following their filing of temporary and appointment of guardian.
Okay, so just to let people know, when somebody files for guardianship in the probate court in California, in most counties, there is a CPS worker assigned to the case to do what's called the probate investigation. And that in LA County, at least, it's a special department and division of CPS, but they are CPS social workers. And I guess, did you file the petition or someone filed the petition against you?
Someone filed the petition. I only consented in my absence, but I was led to believe it was needed for reasons that weren't the case. And it wasn't until recently when I went to archives and retrieved their petition that they filed that I found out that they falsely accused me of neglect.
So
then it all makes sense.
Right. So I don't know if you know this, but generally you can't get a guardianship over someone's children in probate court unless there is some type of abuse or neglect that has been alleged.
Yeah, it was alleged that there's no evidence because it's never happened.
How long ago did this happen?
November 2019.
So, and how old is the child or children?
The child will be 9 this November.
Do you have visitation with the child?
Yes. It's whatever we agree to, but if I don't agree, there's no visitation. So it was for a long time, up until a few months ago, 1 day a week for an hour. Now it's every 2 weeks for 2 hours.
Okay. So I've been on both sides of the fence on this guardianship issue. I have been representing people who wanted to get guardianship. I've represented parents who wanted to fight guardianship. And I've represented parents who, where there already is a guardianship, want to break the guardianship and get the child back. Which one of those categories do you fall in, if any?
I've filed termination of guardianship twice now since 2019. It's been denied both times, as well as a visitation. But here's the kicker. ICWA applies, but has been violated because they refuse to acknowledge it. And I was denied court-appointed attorney.
Well, in probate court, you don't get a court-appointed attorney in California.
Even with ICWA applying? Because with them codifying it, it states in probate court that you would get a court-appointed attorney if you're found that you can't afford one.
Okay. So I'm just telling you what I know the law to be. Okay. So now, since you've been unsuccessful in 2 attempts to get court-appointed attorney, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Okay? So now my question to you would be, if you want to terminate the guardianship, do you know how?
I have an idea, but no. The tribe's involved. They've officially intervened and something needs to be filed. But I'm hung up on my declaration and entering it because emotion.
Well, is there a pending petition to terminate the legal guardianship?
No. No. I have to file something to start that again.
So the tribe will intervene if you do?
They have intervened. They've officially intervened as of June 13th of this year.
Well, see, that's what I just asked you. If there was a pending petition, has the tribe filed some type of petition?
No, their hands are tied until something is filed. So I have to file something.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now you have to look at it this way. There's no case. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
Okay. If you file something, apparently the tribe will intervene. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that you automatically win, right?
Right.
Because there's still some things that you have to prove. Okay? Are the people that have the guardianship over the child, do they have any American Indian ancestry?
No.
Okay. The type of here's a big tip for you, a pro tip. You have to figure out what type of negligence was alleged against you in that original case. And when you go back to court, you have to prove to the judge that that problem has been resolved. Okay? Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, there were judicial findings made that weren't appealed. So even if it's false, for the most part, that's, it's like written in stone, like the Ten Commandments. That's just what the law of your case is. So I was involved in a guardianship not too long ago, and these people, my clients, had been guardian of the kid for like 10 years. And the father filed a petition to terminate the guardianship. Eventually the case was settled, but it was my opinion that he would win if we went to trial, because he had evidence to show that he had alleviated the problem, which was drug abuse. Right? He had been going to counseling, had been sober, had a sponsor, was working a 12-step program, was testing negatively. That was the only reason for the guardianship to begin with. So when he came back years later, that problem had been resolved. My client's problem, which they didn't want to do, they never wanted to do this, was they didn't file a petition to adopt the child. Right? Because if you file the petition, if you have guardianship and you file a petition to adopt the child, that parent can't come back and later try to get the child back. It's too late. They adopt it. That's their own child. So hopefully, that won't happen in your case. But if you have a petition, before you file it, you should have someone, represent you or look over it. Because if you're not saying the right things in the petition, you're not going to win. That's just what I was saying earlier. You feel that you probably got screwed, and you probably did. And now you're trying to correct it. You're trying to correct it by using fairness, which you believe to be fair. And that's a losing strategy. 999 times out of 1,000.
Did you mention to Davis that the connection between your old friend with, to the system?
Oh, she's a paralegal.
And she works for a CPS attorney.
And that's who's representing her in this case. Since the beginning, she's retained him.
Okay. So let me ask you something. Okay. And I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm just, I want you to look at this picture without any rose-colored glasses. Okay? Do you have a lawyer?
Okay. Absolutely not. No means to hire one.
So, guess who has the advantage in you versus them?
She does.
Oh, definitely them. They've had it. Oh, I do?
No. They do. Apparently they're represented by, and I don't want you to say the lawyer's name or anything, but apparently they're represented by a skilled lawyer going against
Who has
someone
a 1.8 rating?
I'm sorry?
He has a 1.8. You said skilled lawyer, and I said who has a 1.8 rating?
He does.
What?
I checked him out.
Well, let me tell you something. For purposes of your case, that 1.8 is good enough. And that's why I want...
Got
a
lot more than I do. I have 0.
Right. You're not even on the scale. You're not on the list.
No.
And that's what... See, this is what I'm trying to tell people. All that shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who's winning? Who apparently won twice. And here you are going for round 3.
Now I have the tribe involved, yeah.
Listen, you think that's going to be magic, and I'm here to tell you that it's not.
It's not.
It's not. Have you ever... Here's a question for you, and you don't even have to answer this. I want you to think about this. Have you read the ICWA Statutory Act, the entire act? Have you read every case that explain? Have you read every case that explains ICWA?
No. Case
Right.
text, no.
You know, sometimes in the law, things are like this. You stop on red, you go on green. That's the general rule. But when you look at the case law, and sometimes in the entire act, there's 1,000 exceptions to that rule. That's how ICWA is. Sometimes the statute doesn't mean what it says. That's the conundrum you go through in law school. You have a law, it says stop on red, go on green. Sounds easy to me. And then all of a sudden, there's case law that basically says, well, it doesn't really mean that. And you're like scratching your head thinking, well, the law doesn't mean what it says. And in a lot of cases, that's absolutely true. And that's hard for people. It was hard for me to even accept that. But until I accepted it, I realized they were playing a whole different ball game, and I was standing on the outside because I knew this wasn't right. You know, about 10 years into my career, I kind of got over that because I can't effectively represent people unless I'm in the right ball game. And the right ball game is sometimes laws don't mean what they say. Okay. That's the ball game they're playing. I guess I got to join those rules. Because my job is not to do social justice. That's what a lot of people feel lawyers should be doing, helping make the system right. That's not my job. My job is to win a case for my client. You want to make social change, you get out and vote, you start organizing people, you go to Congress, you walk the halls to change ICWA or whatever law it is, walk the halls in Sacramento. I don't do that. People call me up and say, Davis, I want ABC. I tell them, if that's possible, and if it's possible or not, whether they want to try it or not. Because nothing's guaranteed. Let's face it. One thing that you should understand is you're behind the 8 ball. The odds are stacked against you. Why? Because a judgment has already been made about some type of abuse or negligence. And you weren't around. You didn't know that's what was going on. And you've lost 2 times already. The next time you file something, the judge is going to be like, come on. And you don't want to be judged at, what do they call it? Malicious prosecution. You don't want to.
Litigant.
Yeah, who said that? Vexatious litigant. Exactly. I mean, if you become a vexatious litigant, you're screwed.
That was my worry. I didn't take the advice to keep filing and filing and filing. I found that pointless. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to irritate the judge.
You will. Well, you got to come up with a different plan, a different strategy. And you got to, and that's something you're going to have to talk to probably a lawyer about, because there's issues of procedure, there's evidentiary rules, there's substantive legal, rules, there's past rulings you have to deal with. So don't think that, the tribe is going to be, change everything around. Could they? Yeah, they could, I guess. But the odds are against them.
There's so
They're
many
wanting to file a
cases.
motion to dismiss.
I'm sorry?
They're wanting to file a motion to dismiss.
The tribe?
Mm-hmm.
Have they done that?
No, I have to file the petition to get something started. So then that's when they step in and file that.
Is the tribe represented by a lawyer?
No.
Hmm?
No.
Usually tribes, when they intervene, they have lawyers that they hire or, that they work with. Is the tribe here in California or someplace else?
Someplace else. It is one of the 5 civilized tribes.
Very good. Well, I mean, it's definitely worth a shot. But here's the better strategy. When you file, you need about 2 or 3 strategies for yourself to win, independent of ICWA. Does that make sense? So you're
Yes.
attacking the problem from, say, 3 sides. You got your 2 sides, and then ICWA on top of that. And that tends to make people think twice about what they're doing or what they will do. Because it's not just, a one shot. One shot, easily deflected in the legal game.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is it? I don't even know how to ask this really. Up until they were granted guardianship, they were in my favor of her coming back, and willing to put together the paperwork and blah blah blah. And there was no issue. There was no concern of any type of abuse up until they got the guardianship, and after my initial filing to terminate. In showing that, would it be pointless to show that as a strategy?
Okay, well, let me ask you something. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best legal argument in the world, 1 being really weak argument, what do you think that is?
Between 1 and 5, probably 3.
How about a 1?
Oh, I really overshot there.
So, would it be pointless? No, it wouldn't be pointless, but it's not going to be as strong as you think. And I get the feeling, and bear with me, and I don't mind talking to you off the live stream. You're kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, and forgive me if it is not the right word, but you're desperate and you're looking for solutions, right? You're kind of like all over the place. Stop that if you can. You're going to drive yourself crazy with frustration. All right? If my doctor, well, here's an even better one. If I take my car right now to the mechanic shop and he says, hey, Davis, you need a new transmission. Guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to run out to Pet Boys and buy the Chilton book on my model car. I'm not going to go buy all the tools necessary and the jacks and hoists and everything necessary to change a transmission. I'm not going to buy all the supplies to change a transmission. Because if I do that, 18 months from now, my transmission might be laying all over my garage floor. I just don't, I'm a smart guy, but I don't have any knowledge or experience in changing transmissions. I don't have the tools to do it. I don't have the experience. I don't even know where to find the transmission in my car, although I know it's there. And you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to get on Google and try to figure it out. Now, could I? I don't know. But I don't have the, every day devoted to changing my transmission. I just don't have the time. Now, take that into your situation. And I don't know you. I don't know what knowledge or experience do you have that you have or don't have. But ask yourself, you don't have to answer this question. Do you have the knowledge or experience to represent yourself in a lawsuit? Do you think you're going to learn everything on Google? You've already failed twice. Unfortunately for you, you got screwed over. You need to go talk to someone. You need to come up with a plan and a strategy and follow their advice. Some things we just can't do by ourselves. My other example that I use all the time, hey, if the doctor tells you you need open heart surgery, Maya, you gonna Google that and figure out how to do that yourself?
I
Exactly.
might try.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think the result will be?
Flatline on the table
Right.
because you can't operate on yourself.
Right. You gonna have your best friend figure it out for you on Google?
Oh no, she never graduated high school. Probably not.
Exactly. You're gonna freaking go to a doctor. You're probably gonna try to find the best heart surgeon you can, talk to him or her, and they're gonna have to try to do something for you. The same is true if you want your child back. You know, the sad thing is, and I don't know where this perception comes from, but people assume that when you're in court, that the fair thing is going to happen. Here's the problem with that. What's fair to you is not fair to me. And I can tell you that judge probably has a different sense of fairness. Those people that took guardianship of your kid have a different sense of fairness. Social worker who does the investigative report has a different sense of fairness. The clerk in that court has a different sense of fairness. The court reporter. So you're expecting them to be fair, but you decide what fairness is based upon your life, your experiences, your education, and what people have told you. That's your sense of fairness. Guess what? Everyone else doesn't have that sense of fairness. So you have to go to someone that's an expert and ask her or him, like, this is what I want. I want my kid back. Here's the file. Figure it out. Let me know what I have to do. That's what I think you should do.
Okay.
Now, is there a way to get your kid back out of guardianship? Yeah, absolutely. The law provides for it. But you got to use the right evidence that's admissible, and you have to use the right legal arguments. Because most judges aren't going to tell you, hey, Maya, you're doing this case all wrong. They're not supposed to. That's not their job. Make sense, Maya?
Yeah.
Is that a difficult pill to swallow?
No.
Okay.
It's just a way of monetary means. They've got me beat. I'm still a student. We only have one income right now.
Did you ever, you might be too young for this. You look like you're very young. Do you remember when O.J. Simpson was tried for the murder of 2 people?
I don't. I believe that happened when I was a kid.
Right. You're way too young.
I'm 30.
Okay. It was the trial of the century. Right? And you know what O.J. Simpson did? He went out and assembled the greatest legal team that has ever been assembled, probably in this century. It was, his life on the line. So whatever your means are, try to get a lawyer or a legal team together to help you. I went through some training many years ago by a lawyer by the name of Jerry with a G Spence. He had something called the Trial Lawyers College. You spend about a month in Wyoming, and all you do is eat, drink, and sleep. Trial lawyer stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And when you come back, your trial skills are significantly improved. So, there is something to this law stuff and ability to do a trial and convince people of certain things. You haven't been able to do that because I think you're thinking of the judge is just going to do what's fair. Now you know at least 2 times that that's not going to happen. Because if it was that and it was your sense of fairness we were judging this by, you'd have your child back. For sure.
Yeah.
Quit trying to do it on your own. Look for some help. Because all you're doing is frustrating. This is frustrating yourself, and you're delaying your ultimate goal was getting your child back. Okay?
Okay.
If you want, since you have been a guest on our show, I'm going to invite you to do something. And that is send me your file, your court file, and I'll review it. But you got to do one other thing, and this is going to take you a significant amount of time. You're going to have to type out your story for me, double space 14-point font, chronological order. Because one of the hardest things to win a case that lawyers have to do is they have to what they call marshal the facts. And what does that mean? That means organize it in a way. And since you're writing this to me and it's confidential, I want you to put the good stuff. I want you to put the bad stuff, like shit you didn't want me to know about. Okay? Because sometimes that stuff is not as bad as you think. And sometimes I can use it to your benefit. And sometimes I need to know before I'm ambushed in court that you did or said something that you never told me about. Okay? Jerry used to tell me this all the time. Any case can be won. Any case. It depends on how much work and effort and money and all that stuff you can pour into the case. Any case can be won. And right after I graduated from the college, he was involved in a case, a political case up in Michigan, where the government was criminally prosecuting 2 very well-known, high-powered attorneys for illegal campaign contributions. Okay? And when he told us that he took on that case, first thing I thought of in my mind was, oh, this is going to be one of those rare defeats for Jerry. He's going to lose this one. Because I had kind of been following it in the paper, stuff like that. And one of the things that I learned after I went to a weekend event where he just broke down what he did was he prepared for that trial for 18 months, 10 to 12 hours a day. Imagine that. Have you done anything in your life for 18 months straight, no days off, for 10 to 12 hours a day? No, neither have I. When I tell you he was prepared, that's an understatement. He won the case. Both those guys got off not guilty. The news couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So many people at the Trial Lawyers College couldn't believe it that they were asked to do a weekend event just about the trial and how they won it. And it just goes back to what Jerry says. Any case can be won. Any case. That means your case can be won. The only question is, what are you going to do about it?
Everything I can. Everything is an option.
Well, first option is getting the team together, because you're not going to do it by yourself. I hate to tell you that, but I'm just being real with you.
If I may add something, Attorney Davis, a lot of people think they can handle their own case if they go online, like somebody mentioned earlier, Stacy, I believe, take classes online, paralegal classes, and handle your own case. that doesn't work. Even attorneys, like I mentioned yesterday in the show, attorneys have to, literally, attorneys cannot handle their own case in court if they're dealing with something. They hire another attorney to do it for them because your emotions are involved. And you still will not be able to handle the case, even if you're a paralegal on your own. Like in Maya's situation, a paralegal had to hire an attorney she works for to handle her case. This is
She did
just
the
a
first
word
few
of
filings on
advice.
by yourself and then hired him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can't handle your own case. I don't care how long you've been a paralegal. Okay?
You know, and Maya, by the way, I want to tell you something.
Hmm.
This lady is or was a paralegal. She did what she had to do to win her case and to
Hmm.
keep winning it. And what was that? She hired a 1.8 star attorney
Hmm.
to go in and kick butt. Get it?
Yeah.
Don't fight it. Don't fight it. Accept it and say, okay, now what do you want me to do? What should I do? And I just told
What
you,
should we
first
do?
step. First step for you is to send me the file or email the file to GT or Miss G, and I need a story from you. Now, if you send me a story that's 10 to 15 pages, Maya, I know you're bullshitting and this isn't serious to you.
Yep.
Because if you tell me the real story, this is going to be 60, 70, 80 or more pages long. There's all kind of stuff, shit in there in the story that you haven't told me today because we don't have that kind of time right now.
Hmm.
But there's more involved in this case than what you've told me. I already know that. How do I know that?
It
I've
would,
just been doing it
oh,
35 years.
where would you like me to start in my story in regards
The
to this
beginning.
case?
The beginning. Now there's something that I should tell you. And Jerry used to tell us this all the time. I'm not asking for the facts. I'm asking for the story.
Hmm.
The human, and include the human element in this. All right? So where would I like you to start? How about when your kid was born and you had custody of the kid? Remember chronological order, double space, 14-point font. And Maya, I want to warn you, if you do a good job, this is going to take you hours.
I'm willing to put in the work,
Okay. We'll
especially
see.
with what my child has
And here's
confided in
another
me recently.
here's another pro tip for you. Listen to this one. When you write out the story and you stop one day and you go back the next day, review what you've done because you might want to edit something, you might want to modify something, you might want to move it around on the timeline. That's number one. Number two, anytime you make a statement about something that can be proven with a document or a picture or a video, start making a list and number it, put one, that will be exhibit one, C, birth certificate. Exhibit two, C, pleading filed. Number three, C, declaration filed. Number four, C, picture or video. I'm going to tell you the best story and list of exhibits I've ever received from a client. And we won his case fairly quickly. A guy gave me a story. I gave him 2 weeks to do it. I didn't see him for 6 weeks. I thought he just forgot about it. He wrote a story that was over 500 pages long. 500 pages. He had exhibits that backed up his story that he numbered in the story itself.
Wow.
Over 1,000 pages.
Oh my God.
When I dropped that into a lawsuit and sent it to the other side and served them, within 30 days they were like, "Hey, Vince, can we settle this case?" Because all the work had been done on the front end. Usually people take the lawsuit to develop a case. And it kind of drags on and on. So you see what happens when you have a really good story?
Mhm.
and include the bad stuff, because I don't want to be sitting at a trial with you. And then I hear some shit from a witness and I turn to you and like, why didn't you ever tell me that? And you will inevitably say, oh yeah, Mr. Davis, I did tell you that. Remember, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to turn to you and say, it's not in your story. So if you don't tell me in the story, you didn't tell me.
That's pretty good.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Everybody's going to sue Mr. Davis. I said everybody now is going to sue everybody.
Cassandra, what'd you think about that advice?
That's great advice.
You're doing a GT on me. You're muted.
Yeah, I know. I said it's good advice.
It's good advice.
It's good advice if you're trying to sue somebody, but if you're trying to get your kids back before that, then, but after the fact, yeah, but get your kids back first.
It's great advice if you want to get your kid back.
Oh.
If I want to get my kid back, how? Like, I thought you just said that you didn't want to sue anybody until you got your kids back.
Right, but what I'm telling, she's not suing anybody.
Oh.
She's trying to get her kids back, right?
Oh, yeah. But that's different.
Wait, no. Let's get this clear. I want to make sure everybody that's watching understands this. If you're trying to get your kids back, or you're trying to sue the social worker, or you're trying to do both, you need to be doing this. But I can tell you, when I tell people to do this or ask people to do this, what percentage of people do you think actually do it?
0.1.
The percent that actually wants to get their kids back?
No. The percent that actually wants to get their kids back and are willing to put the work in. What percentage do you think that is?
Well, I'm one. No. Now that I know that. So there's two.
Okay, you're doing a Miss G on me. You're not answering my question, but that's okay.
What is this?
It's very slim chance. Very, very slim chance. How about that? I'm
being humiliated here. What's going on?
Let me mute her. You got to always do it. Always. What I'm telling you right now, you got to do it. You got to take the time. I'm going to warn you, it's going to take you hours. It might take you 40, 50 hours. Are you willing to put that time in? You don't have to answer that question. If you're willing to put the time in, somebody's going to help you. Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to tell you another secret for all of you guys that are listening. If you go to an attorney and you already have this, the chances that the attorney is going to take your case have increased tenfold, because you already have all your shit together. He or she doesn't have to figure it out. You're like laying it out on the table for them. Now, almost everyone that I talk to agrees to do this. The percentage that actually do it is very small. But it lets me know something. It lets me know the level of seriousness you're into this. 100% of the people agree to do it. I'd say less than 15% actually do it. And then the other 85% wants to know why I won't take their case on contingency fee. Well, you've already shown me you're not serious about this.
They've been given the opportunity. Why not jump on it? All you have to do is sit down and think.
Okay, well,
you're talking
you're talking a big game right now. Let's see what you do. I give you 2 weeks. Okay? 2 weeks. If you did it as a regular job, that's 80 hours. Here's a comment. Bits of Ray. It takes a lot of time, but it's worth it. Hey, you guys, I have to abruptly end the show. I have an appointment that I have to go to. We'll be on tomorrow at 9 a.m. Grace, the producer, I hope we have guests lined up for tomorrow. Who else will be joining me tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Okay, that'll sound good. Oh, Cassandra, thank you very much.
I appreciate your help.
I know, in my screen top left, I don't see any hand waving right there.
Oh.
No,
I think it's because you
from
muted her.
from someone else. Oh, I did mute her. Let me unmute her.
Yeah.
Miss G, will you be joining us tomorrow at 9?
Maybe.
Okay.
Not sure. I'll let you know.
All right. All right. That's mighty nice of you. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Maya, you have 2 weeks.
You got it.
Okay.
Got notes.
All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Here we have Butterball Clark says, I will click on and watch at 9 a.m. I would like to be a guest. Oh, Grace. Is Grace still with us? Yes, Grace is still with us. Grace, this is Butterball. Butterball, I want you to email Grace right now at Grace, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com.
I love that name, by the way. Butterball.
Butterball, I just put it in the comment section. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Now, Grace is off on Sundays, so if you want to arrange this, Butterball, you're going to have to do that today, hopefully by noon Pacific time. So it's going to give you 2 hours to contact Grace via email and set up being a guest for tomorrow. And, Grace, I'm sorry if you already had other guests. I don't mean to knock them. So if you already have other guests scheduled, maybe Butterball will have to come on Monday or Tuesday, whatever the schedule is. All right, folks, I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. Maya, I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. And again, thank you, Miss G. Thank you, Miss Cassandra. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Bye-bye.